Coming back. Okay, good. Shake it out. Excellent. So that pretty much wraps us up for our rhythms. We have a couple of minutes, so maybe we'll talk a little bit on the drum set about how these apply, especially when you go slow. It really just hones and gets the accuracy going with all of the rhythms around the kit. Remember, everything you're playing on the drum set, it's got to be a rhythm first. So I would argue that rhythm is probably the most important thing to understand and develop. So bear that in mind when you're playing around the kit. So many people are completely obsessed with stickings, because stickings are the things that make it sound all that crazy fast, top and bottom, rights and lefts, doubles. And they think of stickings first as opposed to thinking of rhythm first. And the challenge with that is that you end up with a lot of fast stuff that makes no sense in time. And being that you're a timekeeper, your job is to keep the beat. If you're not keeping the beat when you're playing, you're not doing your job. So it doesn't matter how fast you're going or how flashy you sound. You got to keep the beat. You got to keep the time. And it starts with understanding what rhythm you're using. So next time you think about playing a fast lick, first think about what rhythm am I using? What combination of rhythms? Then apply the sticking to that rhythm. Always have a rhythmic framework first, or else it will not make any sense. Trust me, because I really went through that when I was going into high school. Learned a lot of fancy licks and really couldn't play anything with a band because none of those licks made any sense. I couldn't count them. I couldn't feel them. Didn't know what rhythms I was using. Therefore, the licks made no sense. They were just fast. And I was using my ear to try to get to one. And that was like hit or miss. And you don't want to be hit or miss on the drums. You got to nail it. You got to know where you are. You got to know where the time is. You got to hit that one like you mean it. And that's very, very important. Starts with the rhythm. Okay, going on the drum set. Basically, the cool thing about rhythm is it gives you that elastic feeling, that feeling of stretching the time and pushing the time faster, so you sound like you're going fast and slow. Ideally, you want to be able to do that without losing the count or losing the beat. And if you do it right, you get complete freedom in terms of how to move around the subdivisions of the beats. So I've shown this in the past, but we could do it again. So I'm just going to keep the time, starting with a little bit of a groove, and then I'm going to keep that left foot going. And then I'm going to mix around the rhythms, just make it sound like I'm playing very free and out of time. But if you notice on that left foot, that hi-hat will stay going and it'll keep the beat, even though I have this freedom to really stretch. Now, I'm really going to stretch it to make it sound really funny, but I want you to understand the idea of how much freedom you have once you understand the rhythm. Okay, so let's try this. 1. All right, so you see what I'm talking about? Now I'm just kind of just playing and freely jumping through all the different rhythms. And another thing I was trying to do in that last phrase there was actually keep the pattern of snare, snare, tom, tom, snare, snare, tom, tom the same, so you can just see how it's like moving faster and slower. But if you keep your eye on that hi-hat, and that's what you should do, you'll see that the time is still staying there, even though it sounds like I'm in outer space with everything else. I'm not in outer space, I'm just moving through the rhythm chart. And I'm moving very freely. I'm just kind of letting my hands guide through, and I'm concentrating the count on the eighth note and on the quarter note. And from conditioning this stuff, you could turn this very technical counting exercise that we just practiced into something musical, into something beautiful that moves around the kit and gives you freedom in terms of stretching the time. My teacher used to call it elasticity, which I thought was a great word because it sounds like you're elastic, like you're stretching things out. So that's eventually what you can do once you get really into the rhythm. But of course, the main thing, the most practical thing as opposed to stretching, is just understanding that the stickings that you use and the accents that you use have to be rhythmic based. They have to be a note value first. So I challenge you guys to all go back to what you're doing in the drum set, really think about the licks you play, and decide if they really make sense. Are you playing notes or are you just playing patterns? Patterns are not notes. Rights and lefts are not a rhythm. Those are a sticking. So you got to make sure the stickings that you play work inside of some kind of rhythm. And it could be any rhythm, but you got to make sure they work. So try that out. Really challenge yourself to tap your left foot, keep that left foot going through that lick, and make sure you can do it. And it really keeps the time. And two things are working interdependently. They're working together. Okay? Good. So try that. And that wraps us up for today. Tomorrow, we will be back into stick control. I believe we're doing closed rolls. I could be wrong, but I think that's what we're working on. Another great exercise to get into. So join us for that, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Remember to always practice with purpose.